I know how insane that title sounds. Trust me, I've read it back to myself about 50 times trying to make sense of it. But I need to get this out somewhere because I genuinely don't know if I'm losing my mind or if my entire marriage has been a lie. So, some background. My husband, James, and I have been married for 8 years, together for 11. We live in a pretty standard suburban house in Oregon, 3 bedrooms, decent yard, the whole middle-class dream. James works in IT, does the typical work-from-home thing that everyone does now. I'm a veterinary technician, so I'm out of the house most days from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. We don't have kids yet, which has been a whole thing with my parents, but that's not what this is about. James has always been into gardening. Like, really into it. When we first moved into this house 5 years ago, one of the selling points for him was the quarter-acre lot with southern exposure. Perfect for growing things, he said. I thought it was cute. I grew up in an apartment, so the idea of fresh tomatoes and maybe some herbs sounded nice. Wholesome, you know? The first year, it was pretty normal. He built some raised beds, planted tomatoes, peppers, some lettuce. He'd spend maybe an hour or 2 on weekends out there, and we'd have fresh salads in the summer. I loved it. He seemed happy, less stressed about work. I encouraged it. Year 2, he expanded. Built a small greenhouse, one of those kit ones from Costco. Started growing things year-round. Got really into heirloom varieties and seed saving. He joined some online gardening forums, would tell me about these rare pepper varieties he was trading seeds for. Again, seemed harmless. Maybe a little obsessive, but everyone needs a hobby, right? And honestly, it kept him off video games, which had been causing some arguments earlier in our marriage. Year 3 is where things started getting weird. He built a shed. A nice shed. Like, he spent probably $8,000 on this thing. It's insulated, has electricity, looks like a tiny house basically. He said it was for storing tools and starting seeds, that the greenhouse wasn't enough space. I was annoyed about the cost, but he used his bonus from work, and like I said, the garden made him happy. Marriage is about compromise, right? My mom always says you have to let your partner have their things. That was 3 years ago. Here's where I'm probably going to sound like an idiot, but I swear I'm not usually this oblivious. James started spending more and more time in the garden. At first it was a couple hours on weekends. Then it was every evening after work. Then he started waking up at 5 a.m. to check on things before I left for work. He'd come to bed smelling like soil and grass, sometimes not until midnight or later. I asked him about it a few times. He'd say the garden was at a critical stage, or he was dealing with a pest problem, or the tomatoes needed staking. Always had an explanation. And I could literally see the garden from our kitchen window. There were plants. Lots of plants. It looked fine. I don't know shit about gardening, so I just trusted him. We started having less sex. Like, way less. From a few times a week to maybe once a month, if that. When I tried to talk about it, he'd say he was tired from work, or his back hurt from being in the garden. He's 36, not 60, but okay. I started wondering if he was having an affair, but with who? When? He was either at his computer for work or in the backyard. I could literally track his location if I wanted to. We have that Find My Friends thing set up for emergencies. Our social life basically disappeared. We used to have friends over for dinner, go to trivia nights, visit his brother in Seattle a few times a year. But James always had some excuse. The garden needed watering. He had seedlings that couldn't be left. He was expecting a delivery of compost. It was always the fucking garden. Last month, I hit a breaking point. We were supposed to go to my best friend Sarah's wedding. A destination wedding in California that we'd known about for a year. The week before we were supposed to leave, James tells me he can't go. There's a crucial pollination window for some rare squash he's been growing, and he has to hand pollinate every flower at specific times or the whole crop will fail. I lost it. I told him it was a plant. A plant. Sarah has been my best friend since college, and he was going to miss her wedding for a fucking vegetable? We had the biggest fight of our marriage. I said things I probably shouldn't have. Called him obsessed. Said the garden meant more to him than I did. He got really quiet, which is worse than yelling with James, and said I didn't understand, and couldn't understand. That phrase stuck with me. Couldn't understand. Not wouldn't. Couldn't. I went to the wedding alone. Cried through the ceremony, not because of Sarah, but because I kept thinking about how my husband chose plants over me. Over us. Sarah noticed, obviously. Got me drunk at the reception and made me promise to figure out what the hell was going on when I got home. So I did. Last Tuesday, I left for work at my normal time, 6:45 a.m. But I called in sick once I was around the corner and came back home. James's car was in the driveway. I could see the light on in his office upstairs where he usually starts work around 8. I went into the backyard. I'd been out there before, obviously. But not really paying attention, you know? I'd walk through to hang laundry or water the pots on the patio. But I'd never really looked at what James had built. The garden is extensive. Way more than I realized. The greenhouse is packed with plants in various stages of growth, but that's not the weird part. Behind the greenhouse, kind of hidden by some trellises and tall plants, is the shed. I'd never been inside the shed. James always kept it locked, said it was because he had expensive equipment and chemicals that could be dangerous. Made sense at the time. I tried the door. Locked, obviously. But I knew James kept a spare key in a fake rock near the greenhouse. He'd told me about it once in case of emergencies. I found it, hands shaking like I was breaking into somewhere I shouldn't be. The door opened. I don't even know how to describe what I saw. It wasn't a tool shed. I mean, there were some tools, but that's not what it was. It was an office. A complete, fully furnished office. There was a desk. A nice one. Way nicer than the one he has in the house. A comfortable-looking chair. 2 monitors. A laptop. Filing cabinets. A small refrigerator. A coffee maker. A space heater. There was art on the walls. Actual framed prints. Not the hardware store calendars you'd expect in a shed. There was a rug. A nice fucking rug. On the desk were spread out papers. Not garden plans. Business documents. Spreadsheets. What looked like contracts. I stood there for probably 10 minutes, just trying to process what I was seeing. Then I started looking closer. The filing cabinets were unlocked. Inside were folders. Lots of folders. Tax documents. Business licenses. Incorporation papers. James has a business. A whole-ass business that I knew nothing about. It's called Heritage Gardens Consulting. According to the documents I found, he's been running it for 3 years, since right around when he built the shed. He consults with commercial farms, botanical gardens, and private collectors on growing rare and heirloom plant varieties. He brokers seeds and plants. He designs gardens for high-end clients. And he's making money. Like, Serious money. I found bank statements for an account I'd never heard of. In the last tax year alone, he made over $180,000 from this business. That's more than double his IT salary. I felt like I was going to throw up. There was more. A separate phone. One of those cheap prepaid ones. A different email address printed on business cards. A whole separate identity, basically. I took pictures of everything with my phone. I don't know why. Evidence? For what? I wasn't thinking clearly. Then I heard footsteps on the gravel path. I panicked and ducked down behind the desk, which is insane because it's my house, my property. But I felt like I'd been caught doing something wrong. The door opened. James walked in, coffee mug in hand, wearing his regular work from home outfit, sweatpants and a hoodie. He was looking at his phone, didn't see me at first. "What the fuck?" I said, standing up. He dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the floor, one of the nice ceramic ones I'd gotten him for Christmas. He just stared at me, face completely white. "Babe, I can explain." "Explain what?" I was shaking. "Explain why you have a secret office in our backyard. Explain why you have a business I don't know about. Explain why you've been lying to me for 3 years." He held up his hands like I was a spooked animal. "Just, let me explain. Please. Can we go inside and talk about this?" "No. You explain right here. Right fucking now." So he did. Apparently, it started as a side project. Someone on one of his garden forums asked him for advice on growing some specific type of heirloom tomato. James helped them out, mentioned he had seeds, sent some over. The person paid him. Not much, but something. Then that person recommended him to someone else. Then someone else. It snowballed. Within a few months, he was getting regular requests. People wanted consultations. They wanted seeds and plants. They wanted garden designs. He started spending his lunch breaks and evenings working on it. Made a website. Got an LLC. It became a real business. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Why would you hide this?" He looked at the floor. "At first, I thought it would fizzle out. Didn't seem worth mentioning. Then when it kept growing, I don't know. I liked having something that was just mine. That I built myself. We're married, James. We're supposed to be a team. You don't get to have a whole secret life." "I know," he said quietly. "I know that. But every time I thought about telling you, I couldn't. You'd want to be involved. You'd have opinions about how I should run it. Your parents would have opinions. It wouldn't be mine anymore." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you just lied to me? Every single day for 3 years?" "I didn't lie. You never asked." "Oh, fuck off with that. Lies of omission are still lies. You let me think you were out here playing with tomatoes while you were running a 6-figure business." We argued for probably an hour out there in the shed. He kept trying to minimize it, saying it wasn't that big of a deal, that he'd been planning to tell me, eventually. I asked about the money. Where was it going? He said most of it was being reinvested in the business. Some was going to savings. A separate savings account. That I didn't know about. I asked if he was planning to leave me. Take his secret money and his secret business and just disappear. He looked horrified and swore that wasn't it at all. He loved me. He wanted to be with me. This wasn't about me. But it was about me. About us. That's what marriage is. There is no, just you, anymore. Every major decision affects both people. I left him in the shed and went back inside. Called into work, said I had a family emergency. Spent the day crying and going through every emotion possible. betrayal, anger, confusion. And weirdly, this small part of me felt impressed. Like, my husband built a successful business from scratch. That's objectively cool. But he hid it from me. For 3 years. When James came inside that evening, I was calmer but exhausted. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we've had 1,000 normal conversations about our days, about what to have for dinner, about whether we should get a dog. I need to understand, I said. Really understand. Why couldn't you just tell me? He was quiet for a long time. Then, my whole life, I've been average. Average student. Average at sports. Got an average job. I'm not special at anything. But this, the plants, the business, I'm actually good at it. Really good. People seek me out. They pay me because I know things they don't. And I was scared that if I shared it, if I let it become part of our regular life, it would become ordinary. Or you'd want me to quit and focus on my real job. Or it would turn into another thing we fight about, like we fight about having kids or where to spend the holidays. That's not fair, I said. You don't get to make decisions for both of us based on what you think I might say. I know, he said. I know it's not fair. But I also know you, babe. You'd worry. You'd say it's too risky. You'd want me to save more, spend less on equipment. You'd be practical about it, and I didn't want practical. I wanted it to be this thing that was just mine. Part of me understood what he was saying. I am practical. I do worry. When James wanted to buy the expensive shed, I had concerns. When he spent money on rare seeds, I made comments about it being a waste. I didn't mean to, but I probably did make him feel like he couldn't share this part of himself. But that doesn't excuse lying. Right? We talked until almost midnight. I asked to see everything, the full financials, the business plan, all of it. He agreed. We went through it all. And honestly, it's legitimate. He's built something real. He has regular clients, repeat customers, even some corporate contracts with botanical gardens and seed companies. He's been paying taxes on it, keeping proper records. It's not like he's running some illegal operation. It's just secret from me. The next few days were weird. We were polite but distant, both going through the motions. He still went to the office, that's what he calls the shed now, not even pretending anymore, and I went to work. At night, we'd sit on opposite ends of the couch, not really watching TV, both lost in our own thoughts. I talked to Sarah on the phone. She was livid on my behalf. Said I should leave him, that hiding an entire business is unforgivable. My mom said something similar when I finally told her, though she was more focused on the money aspect, kept saying, separate accounts are a red flag. But I also talked to my coworker Jenny, who's been married for 20 years. She said something that stuck with me. Marriage is long. People change. Sometimes they change in ways you don't expect. The question is whether you can change together or if you grow apart. I've been thinking about that a lot. James changed, or maybe revealed a part of himself I didn't know existed. He became a successful entrepreneur. He became someone confident and skilled in a way I'd never seen before. And I didn't notice. I was too busy with my own life, my own routine. But he also lied. Every day for 3 years. Even if he didn't say anything outright false, he constructed this elaborate deception. That's not okay. Last night, I asked James if he ever felt guilty. We were lying in bed, the first time we'd been in bed at the same time in days. Every single day, he said. I'd be out there working on a consultation or packing seeds to ship, and I'd think about you inside the house, and I'd feel sick about it. But then I'd convince myself it wasn't really hurting anything. You were happy. I was happy. The secret had this expiration date in my mind, you know? Like eventually the business would be so successful that I'd have to tell you, and by then you'd be so impressed that you wouldn't be mad. That's delusional, I said. I know. We were both quiet for a while. Then he said, do you want me to shut it down? The business? I will if that's what you need. I'd been thinking about this. Did I want him to shut it down? Part of me, the hurt, angry part, wanted him to give it up. To show that he chose me over his secret life. But another part knew that would just breed resentment. He'd built something real and successful. Asking him to destroy it felt wrong. I don't know what I want, I admitted. I don't want you to shut it down. But I also can't just pretend this didn't happen. You broke my trust. Completely. I know, he said. I'll do whatever it takes to fix it. So now we're in this weird limbo. We're trying. Sort of. He's been completely transparent, gave me access to the business accounts, shows me his calendar, brings me coffee while he's working in the shed. He even asked if I wanted to come sit out there while he worked, like I could work on my laptop while he did his thing. I haven't taken him up on it yet. The thing is, I keep finding myself looking at him differently now. Like I'm seeing a stranger. This person who can successfully run a whole business, who has clients who respect him, who makes more money doing this than his real job. That person feels like someone I don't know. The James the first married was content to be average, to have a simple life. This new James, or maybe the real James, is ambitious. Secretive, capable of maintaining an elaborate deception for years. Which one is real? Or are they both real? I've been reading about this online, not on Reddit, just like psychology articles and stuff. About compartmentalization and how people can be different versions of themselves in different contexts. Maybe that's what James was doing. Maybe he needed to be someone different in the garden, in his business. Maybe we all do that to some extent. But where does that leave us? Sarah thinks I'm making excuses for him. My mom thinks I should insist on couples counseling, which we've started, by the way. First appointment was yesterday, and it was okay, I guess. Jenny thinks we'll figure it out eventually. I don't know what I think anymore. Here's what I do know. I love James. Even now, even after all this, I love him. But I don't trust him. And I don't know if I can get that trust back. Every time he goes out to the shed, I wonder what else he's not telling me. Every time he gets a text, I wonder if it's business related and he's just not mentioning it. Even though he says he's being completely transparent now, how'd I know? I believed him for 8 years, and he was lying the whole time. Last weekend, he asked me to come out to the shed. Sorry, the office. Said he wanted to show me something. I almost said no, but I'm trying, so I went. He'd made me a space. Like, a corner with a comfortable chair, a small table, a lamp. If you ever want to hang out while I work, he said. Or if you want to use it for whatever. It's your space too. All of this is. It was sweet. Really sweet. But it also felt like a bribe. Like he was trying to buy back my trust with a reading nook. Thank you, I said, because what else do you say? We stood there awkwardly for a minute. Then he said, do you want to see what I'm working on? I did, actually. I was curious. He showed me this rare orchid he's propagating for a botanical garden in Vancouver. Explained the whole process, showed me the temperature controls he'd built, the specific growing medium he uses. He was so animated talking about it, so passionate. I realized I'd never seen him talk about his IT job like that. Not once in 11 years. You really love this, I said. Yeah, he said quietly. I really do. And that's the thing that's been eating at me. He found something he loves, something he's good at, something that makes him feel valuable and special. And instead of sharing it with me, he hid it. What does that say about our marriage? About me? The therapist asked us yesterday why we think he felt he couldn't share this with me. James gave his reasons: fear of my reaction, wanting something that was his, etc. But then she asked me, do you think he might have been right? If he'd told you 3 years ago that he wanted to start a plant business and work on it every evening and weekend, what would you have said? I wanted to say I would have been supportive, that I would have encouraged him. But honestly, I probably would have been skeptical. Worried about the time commitment. Concerned about money. I would have loved him through it, but I also would have dampened his enthusiasm with my practical concerns. Does that excuse what he did? I don't think so. But it does complicate it. I caught myself yesterday looking at his business website. It's professional, well designed. There are testimonials from clients. Photos of gardens he's designed. A blog where he writes about rare plant varieties. He even has a small social media presence, nothing huge, but a few thousand followers who engage with his posts about heirloom seeds and sustainable gardening. I felt proud. And then I felt angry at myself for feeling proud. And then I felt confused about everything. We're supposed to go to another therapy session tomorrow. I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of it. Some magic solution that makes this all okay? That's not going to happen. This is something we're going to have to work through slowly, day by day. James asked me this morning if I wanted to go to breakfast before work, like we used to do sometimes. I said yes. We went to our usual diner, ordered our usual things, sat across from each other in the booth, and it felt normal. Almost. If you didn't know, you'd think we were just a regular couple having breakfast. You wouldn't know that I'm constantly wondering what else he's hiding, or that he's walking on eggshells trying not to set me off. On the way home, he said, I miss you. I'm sitting right next to him, and he misses me. I get it, though. I miss him too. I miss the version of us that existed before I opened that shed door. When I thought I knew my husband completely. When our life was simple and uncomplicated. But maybe it was never that simple. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I guess what I'm asking is, has anyone been through something like this? Where you find out your partner has been hiding something major. Not an affair, not abuse, but something significant that changes how you see them. How do you rebuild trust? How do you move forward? And maybe more importantly, should I? I keep coming back to this one moment. It was a few days after I found out, and I was looking out the kitchen window at the shed. James came up behind me, didn't touch me, just stood there. He said, I wish I could go back and do it differently. Tell you from the start. Make you part of it. I said, but you can't. You made your choice. I know, he said. But we can choose differently from now on. If you'll let me. I don't know if I'm ready to let him. But I don't know if I'm ready to give up on us either. So yeah, that's where I am. Wife of a secret entrepreneur with a 6-figure backyard business that I knew nothing about. Living in a house where nothing is quite what I thought it was. I never thought I'd be writing a post like this. Our life seemed so normal. So boring, even. Turns out boring was just a cover for something much more complicated. I don't really know what I'm looking for here. Advice? Validation that I'm not crazy for being upset? Permission to forgive him? Or maybe just someone to tell me that it's okay to not know what to do. Because right now, I really don't. Edit. ****. Wow. This got a lot more attention than I expected. I'm trying to read through comments, but there are so many. A few things I want to clarify. 1. I keep seeing comments suggesting he was preparing to leave me or that the money is suspicious. I've seen all the financial records now. It's legitimate business income, properly taxed. He hasn't been siphoning money or hiding assets maliciously. It's more like he was building something separate. 2. Some people are asking why I didn't notice the business website or social media presence. His business name isn't his real name. The website doesn't have his photo prominently displayed. Unless you knew what you were looking for, you wouldn't connect it to him. And honestly, I had no reason to search for it before. 3. Yes, we're in counseling. First session was helpful in that we both got to talk without it turning into a fight. Therapist seems good, not taking sides. 4. For those asking if I'm sure there's not more, an affair, financial crimes, etc. I've thought about that. A lot. But I really don't think so. The evidence all points to exactly what he says. A legitimate business he was too scared, selfish to share. 5. Someone asked if I'm going to get involved in the business now. I don't know. Part of me wants to be part of this thing that's so important to him. Part of me wants nothing to do with it because it represents his betrayal. Maybe someday, but not yet. Thank you for all the comments, even the tough ones. It helps to know I'm not alone in feeling completely confused about what to do.